All right, everyone, we have to talk about celebrity endorsements, and they're really dumb. We've got to talk about like Taylor Swift, Kanye, and stuff. It's like today, I think Kanye West is meeting with Kushner or something like that, and with Trump, and then Taylor Swift was like endorsing some Democratic candidate the other day, and I'm thinking to myself, why would I care? These are not people who are skilled in politics. These are people who are skilled in like singing, or acting or stuff like that. It's like when actors weigh in, regardless of how they're weighing in. You see like a Ted Nugent coming for a Mel Gibson. How is it any different from a Lena Dunham, somebody who clearly has no real clue about public policy? In some cases, you've got a huge disconnect. For instance, between the wealth, the prestige, the style of living that these people experience as opposed to, the average American or the average person in any other country. In some cases, unfortunately, we associate name recognition with trustworthiness or something. Like the fact that they're well known makes them more trustworthy, makes them more smart, despite the fact that in many cases the thing that they're known for has nothing to do with politics, or has nothing to do with policy or news or socio-political analysis or anything related to that. So I think it's rather funny. When people, it's like some people on 4chan, and part of this is a LARP about Taylor Swift being like their girl, being like basically a secret Ava Braun or something, which is itself hilarious. They're like, oh my God, endorsed a Democrat, no longer our celebrity of choice. And it's like very, very funny. And it's like some of it's tongue-in-cheek, some of it's humorous. But at the same time, there are people that actually think that way. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you care what the political affiliation of some Holly weirdo actually is? Most of them are going to be liberal because it's fashionable. Number one, to be so-called progressive. Number two, for money reasons. If you're working for a big corporation, you're surrounded by people with a lot of money. Yeah, you want liberals, and corporate liberals specifically, to be in power. You want to wine and dine for the same reasons that the DNC wines and dines the far left. The celebrities do too. They pretend to be further left, I think, than they are. They do that for attention. And it makes sense that a celebrity would come out and deliberately, delve into politics, because when you do that, it increases your brand's scope. Like, this is free advertising. If you're in the news for 24, 48 hours without having you didn't have to drop an album. You didn't have to take on a new Shakespearean play. You didn't have to do a presser or anything like that. And yet you're still getting massive amounts of attention. That helps to drive up sales in every possible way. Why wouldn't you weigh in on political issues? But why would anyone else take it seriously when you're worth $200-300 million? The average person is lucky to have $200 or $300 in the bank. There's a big difference between the two. And so the consensus reality of a place like Hollywood is disconnected from the rest of America. We saw this in the 2016 election on full display. The sort of out-of-touch coastal elite, as they were termed, which is only partially accurate, it's urban elite more than anything else. Or I would say rising power and established power elite, basically cities and coastal regions where trade has gone, as opposed to parts of the country that are now economically regressing. They were more powerful 50 years ago than they are today, even though some of them have a higher population. They've still got smaller economic force, all things considered. A place like Detroit, certainly Pennsylvania, parts of the Rust Belt, Ohio. Places like that are looking at people in D.C. who, as a rule, are more wealthy. They're in an urban setting. They get high salaries, a lot of high-paid bureaucrats, judges, and lawyers, and everything associated with politics, and then the politicians themselves. These people rub elbows and drink their $100 wine bottles and can't understand, unless they happen to be from the Rust Belt and have constituents there, and which only a few people do within Congress. Unless they have constituents, they don't really know how life is. They're going to New York City for a rally today and Los Angeles tomorrow or something. Totally different ball field. They're not staying at the little roadway inn. They're staying at some place that gets 5 stars and where the catering service costs you $500 a night. Their idea of roughing it is they only got to take 3 weeks of total vacation out of the last quarter, basically. I only got to go out to the golf field 6 times. It was a really difficult week for me. That's how DC operates. So there's a disconnect. Much like when people who are like, you would think, even within professional careers. Some of these like professional lawyers, like an Avenatti or something, when they weigh in on politics, okay, here you've got someone who's definitely academically highly educated, but doesn't appear to know anything really about politics, and yet is constantly delving into them, based on putting himself into a political firestorm for, let's face it, probably opportunistic reasons. Now, of course, that's a little bit of showmanship. Here's the thing. I don't think Avenatti actually thought in a million years that he was actually going to like sue Trump over the Stormy Daniels. I'm actually going to stop him. I don't even think he'll run for the presidency. And I don't give a fuck about his actual political views. Again, another hawking neoliberal, makes a lot of money getting attention. I think it's literally nothing more than a way to expose his brand. The funny thing is when a lot of other people jump on the bandwagon and start taking it seriously. And he loves it. I mean, it's kind of dishonest, but it is no different than any other form of marketing, really. You insert yourself into a situation that's a lot of buzz is being generated about it. Political season, some sort of major scandal, anything like that. It's like, what am I doing when I talk about Brett Kavanaugh? The number of videos that I have to make is somewhat disproportionate to my actual interest and the realistic importance of the Kavanaugh situation. It's important. It's appointing someone to SCOTUS. Big deal. But it's not such a big deal that, technically speaking, it should be front page news every fucking day for a month. Yet it was in the public consciousness. I would be strange. I would make a strange decision if I wasn't covering it regularly. It's a form of branding, a form of marketing. Now, this can be done for benevolent or malevolent reasons. Propaganda works both ways. It can be for good. In most cases, it's for opportunistic reasons. It's for money. When Taylor Swift says, I'm endorsing this Democratic candidate, well, yeah, how many more record sales are you going to get? Most of your audience probably is not far right. There is a meme about that being the case and about you secretly being the next Ava Braun, but that's not actually true. And so it just makes sense because any attention is good attention if you're marketing yourself as a sort of product. You've got the clothing line, you've got the lipstick, the fucking the plushie line, and all of this stuff. And they get more attention because more people are looking you up, and so you're selling more, and so you're making more money. So I don't pay any attention to celebrity endorsements on any side. It's like when Kanye's like, well, I like Trump, and I'm going to wear a MAGA hat. Who cares, dude? Your opinion on that issue, I might somewhat agree with, because I'm like, well, yeah, I do believe Trump is doing well, especially on economic issues and foreign policy. But that doesn't mean that it took some magical power, some magical celebrity intelligence for Kanye West to arrive at that. He's getting a lot more money and attention by inserting himself into that politics. He simply is. And so it wouldn't make any sense for him to say, oh, you know what, fuck this shit, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. No, if you're a celebrity, you want to be very visible all the time. In fact, they get addicted to it like crack. They get too competitive in some cases, and they end up doing stupid shit. They do like what Britney Spears, shaving her head and going crazy, or Madonna, trying to kiss Britney Spears or something like. They do something that long term is unhelpful, or Prince changing his name to a symbol in order to protest, what was it, Sony or one of these companies, sort of album deals forcing him to make music, and so he just started releasing a bunch of stuff that's sub B-side shit and storing it into a vault in order to pay him off. Very skilled, very bitter and sardonic, did ultimately work. I think they released him earlier from his contract or something. But not necessarily the only way he could have done that. Probably missed out on a lot of potential by doing so. It's like, how am I going to search for him now because his name doesn't appear on my keyboard? Could be a little bit of a problem. That's about all. Peace out.